Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. And in today's video, today is Thanksgiving, by the way. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an article from Zero Hedge titled Holiday Hardship. 1 in 4 Americans are skipping Thanksgiving entirely to save money. I believe this comes from a studyfinds.org article that actually found this. We're going to be taking a look at this article, kind of reading through it a little bit. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Cantion Effect. The Cantion is an economist from the 1700s. He wrote an essay and he had kind of a theory that kind of explains what's happening with the U.S. today, what's happening with China today, why we have a surplus of a lot of useless goods that we have, things like furniture and TVs and video games, but we don't have lumber and fuel and food and a lot of the things that we need. Kind of explains what happens when new money comes into the system. A couple weeks back, I had made a video talking about how everything was going to crash after the midterms, and I think we're slowly seeing that play out. I think it'll be interesting to see how Thanksgiving through the holidays and into the new year is. I think maybe some holiday spending kind of props up the economy, even though people don't have money and things are costing more than ever. I think I saw a stat that Thanksgiving this year, a Thanksgiving dinner to feed 10 people is going to cost about 60% or 68% more than it would have in 2020. And it's kind of crazy thinking back to 2020, just 2 years ago. It's kind of amazing how quickly we all kind of forgot about the Mexican beer cough and went back to normal. I remember it was just 2 years ago that nobody wanted to get together for Thanksgiving, all over a disease that had a 99.7% survival rate. Kind of crazy. I remember my whole big family didn't want to get together. They didn't want to risk getting my grandma sick, even though all of them in the following days after Thanksgiving went by like one family, another family, another family. Everybody went by one on their own, but nobody wanted to get together as a big group. And I thought that was like the most retarded thing ever. Like, my grandma's like 92, my grandpa's 94. They probably don't have a lot of Thanksgivings left. They like getting the whole family together, seeing all their grandkids and all their great grandkids together. And the Mexican beer cough and really my family, kind of robbed them of getting everybody together, but still all went by one, and got together with them. So basically put them at the same risk, because everybody went and saw them, but they didn't even get to see everybody together. It was just really stupid. I remember my folks came over to my house and it was just me, my mom, and my dad. My sister didn't come into town. My girlfriend wound up going by, her family with her immediate family, but it's kind of crazy, that was just 2 years ago. And, now you guys have probably seen, I don't want to get too far off track. You guys have probably seen the articles about like how we should all forget and we should have a day of forgiveness where, those authoritarian people who tried to make us lose our jobs and said we shouldn't get medical care if we refuse to get the thing. Now we should all just forgive each other. And even though we were lied to and we were manipulated and we were gaslighted, it was a confusing time. And, we didn't really have all the information. And, we're sorry that we tried to make you lose your job and your livelihood and didn't get you to see your grandma before she died. We should all just have a day of forgiveness and all forget about that. I'm actually getting ready for Thanksgiving right now. I'm going to be heading over to my aunt's house here shortly. Just cooked a corn casserole and I recently got into baking bread. So got a couple loaves of bread in the oven that I'm waiting to finish up. But a couple weeks ago we had talked about how everything was going to start coming apart after the midterms. We talked about how the economy had been kind of artificially propped up. Biden was releasing oil from the strategic oil reserves to try to keep gas prices down. He was blackmailing OPEC and the Saudis, saying, please don't cut production until after the midterms. That's actually illegal. It's an impeachable offense to do that. But he wanted to keep gas prices down going into the midterms, because everybody was expecting this, this quote unquote red wave that never really came to fruition. We also have the media kind of running cover, right? Like the Fed and the White House changed the definition of a recession. It's no longer 2 consecutive quarters of lack of growth. And now it looks like even after we're going to see 3 quarters of no growth or backtracking in growth, people still don't want to call this a recession because there's still jobs out there. We talked about this as well. There's 11 or 12 million surplus jobs out there. About 1 million of them are government jobs. About 1 million of them are white collar jobs or skilled jobs, skilled trades. And the rest are, low wage service sector jobs. And even the people who are getting jobs, a lot of these jobs are people taking on a second or third job. One of my buddies who works in a warehouse just recently also took on a job at Amazon. He actually loves it. I know a lot of people talk shit about Amazon. Supposedly it is a tough job, but he's making like $25 an hour. He can pick up extra shifts and overtime anytime he wants. Everything's run very conveniently through this app. Makes it really easy for him to get extra shifts. And he says it's pretty easy. But we are starting to see more and more people getting additional jobs. And we're kind of seeing that with Amazon as well. Amazon is laying off a lot of people in their diversity and inclusion divisions, a lot of their recruiters, a lot of people in HR, but they're hiring, 150, 175,000 people, just for the holiday season temporarily. One of my buddies who I just mentioned, who just got started there, he's a temp worker, but he's a temp worker there for 11 months, or up to 11 months. But what we're seeing in the overall economy with, there's a ton of low wage jobs that nobody wants, but really no good jobs out there. We're kind of seeing the same thing at Amazon, right? Amazon's getting rid of a lot of the white collar jobs, a lot of the higher paid jobs, and they're bringing in even more people, to work in the warehouses, which, they pay better than most, minimum wage jobs or warehouse jobs, but ultimately it's still a low paying job. So let's talk a little bit about this Cantion Effect that I had mentioned earlier. And one YouTuber I would encourage you guys to check out, his channel name is The Uneducated Economist. His channel is really growing quickly. I think he's up to about 105,000 subscribers. When I started watching him a few weeks ago or a few months ago, he was very, very small. He makes all his videos in his car. There's no editing. I think he's either in Washington or maybe Canada, BC area. But he makes all his videos in the car. There's no editing, but what he does, he takes, when you talk about the economy and, economics, it's kind of a dry subject, and it's also a subject matter that's really kind of hard to wrap your head around and understand. And what he does, he really kind of breaks it down, and he makes it, I think, as entertaining as you can make, economics. But he also breaks things down and explains things in economic theory in a way that's easy for people to understand, even if you don't have a background in economics. And one of the things he talks a lot about is the Cantion Effect. And again, Cantion was, he wrote an essay back in the 1700s. Obviously, this is before modern monetary theory and things like that. But his example in his essay talked about a silver mine coming into a new town or a new country, and basically putting a bunch of money into the system. Now, when a bunch of money enters the system, initially, the people who benefit the most from this are the people who have the first access to this new money. So the people who run the mines, or the people who are funding the mines. And you can kind of look at it in the same way. The U.S. has been printing way too much money for a long time, but a ton of money came into the system, during COVID. We had the PPP loans, which were mostly fraud. But that was the money entering the system. Now, the people who get early access to this money really benefit from it because prices don't immediately go up. So, the money flows into the system. Initially, the people have all this extra money and they can buy all of these goods at the old prices. Well, eventually this money starts working its way through the system and trickling its way through the system. So eventually everybody is going to get some of this money. The problem is as this money makes its way through the system, what happens is, inflation, the cost of everything starts going up. And that's kind of what we're seeing now. We see fast food paying people $20 an hour, $23 an hour. I talked about during the height of the Mexican beer cough, there was a pizza place in the, I don't even know if you call it northwest suburbs, kind of more up by Fox Lake, but there was a pizza place that was paying, I think, $48 an hour. And if you referred a friend to work there, you got free pizza for a year. And so, as this money starts trickling through the system, wages go up, right? People are getting a little bit more money. Everybody's kind of getting access to some of this money. But, you might get a 3% or a 5% raise at your job, which may seem good. But when everything around you is costing 30% more, 40% more, and we talked about Thanksgiving this year is going to cost 60% more. Who cares if you're getting a 5% raise if, your gas is costing you 30% more, your groceries are costing you 40% more, rent is costing you 30% more. Essentially, you've gotten a 25% pay cut, and not a 5% raise. Sorry guys, I had to go, check on my bread there. I think we need about another 5 minutes or so. But let's kind of get back to, so, I think it was probably 2-3 weeks before the midterms when we talked about how the economy was being propped up and it was going to fall. And as you saw, shortly after the midterms, we started seeing more layoffs. I mean, the Twitter thing was because Elon Musk took over, but Twitter laid off, 50% of their workforce. They're probably going to lose another 20 to 25% due to people, being upset about the longer working hours, the tougher working atmosphere, and, just not liking Elon Musk. So they're going to lose more people. Facebook laid off, 10,000 people. Redfin did another layoff of 13 or 14,000 people, which I think to date is about 28% of their staff. They had done another layoff, back in June. Initially, these layoffs were kind of, limited to the real estate, mortgage, and tech industry. Obviously, the tech industry is way over bloated. It has been for a long time. We've all seen these videos, like a day in the life as an employee at Meta, a day in the life as an employee at Twitter, where they do actually absolutely no work. They go get free coffee from the, baristas that are working there. They got wine on tap. They're sitting on the rooftop. You watch people's 8-hour day, where they don't do 1 second of work. And it's like, well, no shit, these companies are going to be laying people off. Most of these companies are zombie companies. And, the only reason they exist is because of all the cheap money in the system and the VC money pouring into them. And, eventually a day of reckoning is going to come when these companies have to turn a profit, and have to actually be efficient. And I think that time is upon us. And we'll see how many of these companies wind up surviving. It's always kind of interesting how, a company or a service, I guess we'll take, for example, social media companies. They can be really popular. They can have millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users. But if they don't make money at the end of the day, why do they exist? So it'll be interesting to see if any of the current social media platforms that we have wind up kind of fading away entirely, whether it be I don't think YouTube's going anywhere, but Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. We are starting to see a lot more discussion about how TikTok is kind of bad for our country. Not only is it destroying people's attention spans and destroying kids' attention spans, but what they're tracking the movements of U.S. users. They keylog everything you do on your phone, even if you're not on the app. And, kind of Trump brought that up initially and everybody said it was xenophobic or whatever else. But now, from both sides of the aisle, we're hearing people call for TikTok to kind of go away. But I think we're talking about, I keep getting distracted when I got to keep going to check this bread. We keep talking about layoffs and, FedEx has furloughed a bunch of their drivers. Yeah, I've talked about this before. This is at a time when generally around this time of year, FedEx, UPS, USPS, all the shipping companies are saying, we're not going to be able to deliver everybody's packages. There's just too many packages and not enough workers and not enough trucks. And this year they're actually laying people off because there's not enough, stuff to be moved around. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what Black Friday winds up looking like this year. Some people are saying people are going to try to take advantage of the deals and it's going to be a bigger Black Friday than ever. The past couple of years, Black Friday has continued to grow. Black Friday, one thing that I noticed working in e-commerce and marketing, it's much different than it was in the past. In the past, Black Friday was a big deal because it was a one-day event, and then Cyber Monday was a one-day event. I mean, I was getting fucking Black Friday emails in late October. So Black Friday has turned into literally a 3-month event from late October, all the way through the end of the year. So it's no longer really this special event. It's no longer this one day thing, right? Black Friday started out as Black Friday and then it crept to somebody's going to do it on Thanksgiving and then everybody starts doing it on Monday. And then, next thing you know, from the beginning of November, people are doing Black Friday. So, maybe that's why Black Friday keeps making more money is because it's stretched out to a 3-month event and instead of being a one-day thing. I will say anecdotally, I have a number of clients. I also have one of my own stores. And anecdotally, the couple client stores that I'm managing as well as my own store are doing better than ever. We're already beating last year's numbers. But again, Black Friday isn't even here. Most of my clients and my store started our deals on Monday. So we're, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're about 4 days in. We'll see what things look like after Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because those are going to be the biggest days. But it'll be really interesting to see what Black Friday and Cyber Monday and really what sales from the holiday season look like. I gotta go check this damn bread again. Give me a second, guys. So, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys are seeing among your friends and family, among, businesses in your community, even at your workplace or your business. I had a couple friends who work in trucking or freight. I'm not really sure what you call that industry, but they're not dispatchers. They basically sell loads and things like that. And they're all in the sales portion. Salespeople obviously bring in revenue, so they're going to be the last ones, fired. But a lot of the middle management and upper management was let go. And I mean, we're talking people who've been there over 20 years, and people are being let go left and right. So it doesn't look good for freight. We are starting to see layoffs come to industries, again, outside of mortgage, outside of tech. outside of real estate. And pretty much, even though we've been dealing with this inflation for a couple of years, it doesn't seem to have like really affected the middle class or upper class. Like everybody hates paying more. We all bitch and moan about it. We all whine about it. But at the end of the day, most people haven't changed their behavior, right? Like people are still driving. People are still, going out and celebrating. People are, just now we're starting to see people stop eating out, as much, but I think that might be as much because of the poor level of service and poor level of food at restaurants, as opposed to actually costs going up. It's actually probably a combination of the two. I've been noticing just anecdotally, just kind of driving around, seeing, empty parking lots of chain restaurants and things like that. And really, I would encourage everybody to, get a rice cooker, get a crock pot, learn how to cook. I pretty much stopped eating out 2 years ago. With the labor shortages and supply chain shortages, the quality of food you're getting in restaurants is shit. The level of service you're getting is shit. And I was going to make a video talking about tipping. We'll talk about that in another video. We're starting to see the topic of tipping come up with inflation. People are tipping less. And the type of tipping that really seems to piss people off, is point of service tipping. And I've made the video a couple times. I haven't put them out. I make a lot of videos that never wind up getting released because I'm not happy with how they turned out, or, they're just no longer timely. But I was at a concert recently, went to go buy a t-shirt, and they asked for a 25 to 45% tip, literally for a guy grabbing a t-shirt and handing it to you. I was at the bowling alley recently, and after we got assigned our lane, I got my own shoes, my own ball, so I didn't need to give me shoes or anything. But after I paid for my lane, it asked if I wanted a tip, and I think it was 15% to 35%. So tipping is kind of starting to piss people off. I saw a study recently came out that said like 60% of people plus wish that tipping would just go away entirely. But also, if you guys run e-commerce shops, let me know what your Black Friday sales are looking like. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, so let's hop into this article here. Actually, before we get into this, I saw two other kind of interesting things of note. Even though we're dealing with inflation, Biden was trying to push through with executive order student loan forgiveness, which is an inflationary act. Got shot down. I believe 2 courts shot him down. I saw a headline, I heard something, and he's trying to shove it through one more time. We'll see what winds up happening with that. I think ultimately the goal is to start getting money out to people before the courts can shut it down. And once the money's already been handed out, at that point, mission accomplished. Kind of like he did with eviction moratoriums and vaccine mandates, right? Like these were illegal things to do. But if you just shove it through illegally with an executive order, by the time it actually makes it through the courts, you've pretty much accomplished your goal. And by the time eviction moratoriums came through the courts, well, people got an extra year of free rent. I think we just approved $10 billion in COVID prevention spending or COVID emergency funding. It seems like COVID is pretty much over for everybody but China, so I'm not really sure why we're doing that. We're giving Ukraine another $40 billion, or at least they're trying to. I saw just within the past couple of days, we gave another $400 million or $800 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, with all the money we're giving to them, it's a drop in the bucket. And that whole thing is crazy, right? We have American cities with crumbling infrastructure. We have American cities where they don't even have clean drinking water. People are struggling. Inflation is out of control, and we continue giving money to it's essentially a puppet regime and a war that's unwinnable. This is basically a war that NATO and the U.S. brought upon themselves. And it's something that's kind of doomed to fail, but we keep kind of doubling down on it. And it's kind of crazy if you look at what's happening in, Saudi Arabia right now. They're getting ready to, I believe the first protester has been executed. They're holding 15,000 more protesters, and they're saying that they're going to execute 15,000 protesters. And think about that, 15,000 people. Most of these people, it's people of all ages, but most of these people are young people, students, teenagers, young adults. Because those are the people who, are kind of don't like the system and are kind of going out to protest. And look at all of the the corporations in the U.S. Look at all the politicians. Look at everybody on Twitter and Reddit. Everybody is so empathetic to Ukrainians. And Ukraine is a corrupt country with a lot of problems. We're basically engaging in a puppet war. The U.S. is with Russia, and everybody has so much empathy for Ukraine. And here you have people in Saudi Arabia who are going to be or is it Saudi Arabia or Iran? Maybe it's Iran. I forget. Either way, I'm having a brain fart here. But you have 15,000 young people who are going to be executed, and we're not really hearing a lot about it in the media. It's not really a story that's tugging at people's heartstrings. It's not like the U.S. is going to go over there and do anything about it. And I don't know, that whole thing is just kind of silly. I got to check my bread one more time, and then we will we'll give this article a read, and then I'll let you guys go enjoy your Thanksgiving. So, holiday hardship. 1 in 4 Americans is skipping Thanksgiving entirely to save money. And, obviously inflation's out of control. Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost a lot more. Something that I think I've mentioned in a couple of videos, and this is getting a little bit off topic. If you guys are kind of interested in this, we can kind of discuss it in another video. But I think in a lot of ways, a lot of the connectedness, and kind of unity that society as a whole used to have is kind of gone. Back during Halloween, we heard how less people are trick-or-treating, quote unquote, because of inflation. And again, I think inflation might have had something to do with it. But part of it is just community doesn't get together, right? Like everybody's scared of other people. You wouldn't, today you would never pick up a hitchhiker. Most people won't stop and help somebody on the side of the road because everybody's scared of one another. People don't talk to their neighbors as much as they used to. There's not nearly as much of a sense of community. If you go on places like Reddit and Twitter, a lot of people, seem to kind of like hate their family members, hate getting together for holidays. They'd rather sit home and play video games and, eat bologna sandwiches by themselves. If you look at studies of like the number of friends, the number of friends people report having, from, anywhere from the 50s up to modern day, but especially since the kind of the invention of social media and smartphones and a lot of the new technology we have, consistently decade over decade, you see people report having less friends, less close friends, less relationships with family members. And especially in the past 5, 10, 20 years, you see these numbers dwindling down even more. So it seems like a lot of these kind of social things, whether it be holidays, trick-or-treating, a lot of these things that kind of brought us together in the past no longer bring us together, and people aren't as engaged in these things. I'm not sure if it's that we all got our noses in our cell phones, that social media has kind of tricked us into making us feel like we have connections with other people, even though it's all fake and digital and online. Like, I got 50 friends from high school. Well, how many of these people have you actually seen in the past 10 years? And so I think that may be part of the whole Thanksgiving thing, is it just doesn't seem like family is as important. It doesn't seem like friends are as important. It doesn't seem like community and getting together and having connections with other people, is as important. And I think that may be by design. I've talked about this before too. If you look back around 2010, Occupy Wall Street, it was pretty much like the rich and the elite and the bankers against everybody else. And if you look at media articles and just kind of society as a whole since then, we saw a huge spike in articles about like, how white people are your enemy, and all these kind of like very divisive articles. And if you look at today, gay, lesbian, trans, non-trans, trans in sports, black versus white, black versus Asian, hate crimes on Asian, all of these divisive topics and divisive articles. You can even look at like charts that like look at how many of these headlines come out, have all skyrocketed since like 2010. So it seems like kind of the bankers and the elite kind of realized that people were kind of coming together and kind of realizing, who their true enemy is, or who it really is that's keeping them down. And people kind of started to turn on bankers. We had the whole Occupy Wall Street movement. And then, I don't know if you want to call it the media, the establishment, the elite, whoever else. And it's weird to think about, right? When we get into these like conspiracy theory things, like who are they? Like, are there really these coordinated efforts across various countries and every media outlet and everything else, all to kind of push the same narrative or push society in the same direction? It's kind of hard to wrap your head around as a normal people who's not part of these like inner circles or whatever. But there's no denying the fact that we've seen a concerted effort to divide people, divide races, divide religions, divide income classes against each other, when really it's like the 1% versus everybody else, and it's everybody who's struggling because of the 1%. People who make $70,000 a year think of themselves as a lot differently than the guy who makes $30,000 a year, the guy who works at a restaurant or in a retail store. But at the end of the day, the guy making 70 grand, he's one life instance away from being homeless, one life instance away from being bankrupt. And he has a lot more in common with the guy making $7 an hour working as a landscaper, than he does with, Bill Gates or Elon Musk or anybody else. I'm all over the place here, so let's just get into this article. Thanksgiving is typically a time for big family celebrations and lots of food, but a new survey finds the struggling U.S. economy is forcing many Americans to cut back this year or not celebrate at all. In a poll commissioned by digital wealth management company Personal Capital, 1 in 4 Americans say they're actually skipping Thanksgiving altogether in order to save money. 1 in 3 are hosting smaller dinners, and a staggering 88% are cutting at least one dish from their table in order to make ends meet. In 2021, researchers note that an IPSOS survey found that 9 in 10 Americans plan to celebrate Thanksgiving this year. The new poll of 1,000 people found that number had fallen to just 74%. So in 1 year, we had quite a drop in a number of people celebrating Thanksgiving. And even though, the Mexican beer cough was kind of winding down last year, that was still something that may have kept some people from celebrating. But despite the fact that the Mexican beer cough is over and done with, we still have a lot of people saying that they're not going to celebrate Thanksgiving. Let's see. In fact, 47% say they're celebrating Friendsgiving because it's more of a budget-friendly menu. And really, Thanksgiving is about getting together with friends and family. It's not necessarily about what's on the table. You could go get a $5 rotisserie chicken at Costco, make a cheap casserole, baking your own bread costs, $1 at the most, maybe. You get frozen vegetables. You can put together a good, healthy, tasty meal without having to go all out. And really the important thing is getting together, giving thanks, celebrating with friends and family, and spending time with people who are important to you. Specifically, just 24% of Friendsgiving celebrations will even have a turkey on the table, with 33% opting for pizza instead. Inflation and job security are raining on the Thanksgiving parade. With many Americans struggling with higher prices at the grocery store, 52% are asking their guests to bring a dish to Thanksgiving dinner. 3 in 4 are asking guests to bring their own alcohol, while just under 46% are asking people to provide the dessert. Another 42% are going a step further and asking their friends and family to help pay for the big meal. Nearly 6 in 10, or 57%, admit their Thanksgiving guest list is much smaller this year, and 53% are cooking fewer dishes. When it comes to who's cutting back the most, Gen Z respondents were the most likely to say they're doing all 4 of those things to cover the cost of Thanksgiving in 2022. For those who lost a job over the last year, the holidays may be even tougher. The survey finds fewer Americans who lost a job. 71% say they'll be celebrating Thanksgiving, in comparison to those who kept working, 78%. However, those who lost a job are significantly more likely to attend a Friendsgiving, 55%, than employed Americans, 38%. Overall, 45% of the country say they feel financially stressed by Thanksgiving in 2022, so almost half of Americans. Gen X Americans have the least amount of stress, 33%, while Gen Z is feeling it the most, 54%. Thanksgiving budgets may be tighter than ever. In terms of dollars and cents, 1 in 5 Americans doubt they'll have enough money to afford a traditional Thanksgiving meal, although 52% say they're spending the same amount on their holiday groceries. 33% are slashing the budget. And here's something to think about. When groceries are costing 30 to 40% more, you can actually have less food and actually be spending more money because everything is costing 30 to 40% more than it would in previous years. Although Gen X Americans are feeling the least amount of stress this holiday season, 40% say they're spending less than $100 in their Thanksgiving dinner. Perhaps they know the best way to save money while shopping on a tight budget. Respondents say the best thing to do to save money are to pay attention to deals, 38%, use coupons, 36%, and start shopping for holiday ingredients early, 36%. Now, I think I saw a couple stores. I think Aldi was one, and I forget the second one. It may have been Meijer, it may have been somebody else, but I saw at least 2 stores say that they're going to roll prices back to Thanksgiving in 2020 or 2021. So you do have a couple of stores who are rolling back the cost of things and giving people a little bit of a reprieve from inflation. When it comes to the items no Thanksgiving dinner is complete without, turkey tops the list, 36%, followed by gravy, 35%, mashed potatoes, 31%, stuffing, 31%, and sweet potatoes, 29%. If you're wondering which dishes are most likely to disappear in order to save money this year, extra desserts, Brussels sprouts, squash, and cream spinach are all on the chopping block. So that's the end of the article. I actually got to get my bread out of the oven, hop in the shower, and get off to my celebrations today. I hope you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, as good a one as you can. I'd love to hear from you guys, like, how are Black Friday sales going this year? What's your impression or interpretation of Black Friday? Like, do you think you're seeing good deals? I know a lot of the deals that I see aren't even as good as just normal prices like 6 months ago. Obviously, inflation has gone crazy. For those of you guys who run e-commerce shops, like, what are your numbers looking like so far, if you've even started your Black Friday sales? Obviously, some people are still doing a traditional Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but overwhelmingly, I think most people started this past Monday a couple days ago, and some people have been running Black Friday sales since the beginning of November. What do you guys think like the holiday season's going to look like? What do you think the new year is going to look like? What do you think is going to happen to crypto? What do you think is going to happen to the stock market? What do you think the world is going to look like over the next couple months and into the new year? As always, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, opinions, comments, anything else you have to add. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you